Welcome to another episode of From the Inside Out. My name's Daisy, and this week I want to talk about discipline. Not so much the how to discipline and the rights and wrongs of it, and nothing quite that heavy. I want to talk about the importance of disciplining and merging the what I've previously spoken about with routines and my non-negotiables and putting them together. An experience I had when my children were very small was I was in the car and I was listening to the radio and a program called Focus on the Family, and it was run by to me, a famous, an American psychologist called Dr. James Dobson. And I listened to him a lot and back then and read books of his. He's written quite a few books. One of the best ones for me at the time was Dare to Discipline. And it changed my concept of disciplining. Because people have a weird concept of discipline. You talk to parents back then and today that say, yes, you discipline your children, and they immediately think you smack them or hit them or hurt them in some way. And discipline is so not that. Disciplining is simply putting things in place to teach your children the importance of good behaviour and bad behaviour and consequences being, because everything has a consequence. Every action has a reaction. That is the realities of life. And this day I was listening to it, and he said something that changed my parenting thinking forever. And that was that parents have to change the way they understand this, that we're not raising children, we are raising future adults. Now that might sound very simplistic, but it actually completely changed my thinking. And I've since met over the years so many parents that have gone, doesn't that change things? Because it does. The measures you put in place today, right now, for the disciplining of something a child's done or not done can affect them right throughout their whole lives. So you're not just disciplining the moment, you are disciplining and putting things in place that will set that child up for the rest of their lives, or certainly into their adulthood, until they can make their own way and make their own decisions, and they will have their own consequences for what they do or don't do. But my aim as a parent was to get them from infanthood or from birth to adulthood intact in whatever way that meant, and set them up for their life. What they did with it after that, entirely up to them. But that was I saw that as my job as a parent, was to install in them as much as I could in the importance of discipline and routine, and non-negotiables were all interlinked for me. So that changed our parenting thinking. I spoke to my husband about it. I read a book about Dare to Discipline, also written by Dr. James Dobson. I listened to a lot of his broadcasts, and it was just so amazing and so life-changing. And my children benefit from that. I let go of my old thinking. I found, my husband and I found creative ways. We used the new stuff around us back then, the new technology. We took away things like PlayStation, and we used cell phones when that came in. We had simple rules for cell phones. No cell phones in the rooms at night. Pure and simple, when they did get them. That was a bit older, but we use things. We use the art of negotiating, and the same with the disciplines. Some of the disciplines had to be negotiated too. I'm not saying the kids liked the discipline when we actually had to use it, but it was something that we'd all agreed on was an appropriate discipline at the time. Sometimes we had contracts for things. but it all set them up for adulthood. And now that my children are adults, my son a few times now has thanked me for putting these things in place, because he learnt to shop. He learnt the consequences of not doing washing. He learnt the consequences of not doing dishes. He learnt the consequences of if you didn't put things in place for yourself. This is after he'd left home. And so now I'm seeing the rewards of that. And so I just want to encourage parents out there too, that if you haven't quite understood that concept, or nobody's actually said that to you, or you just haven't thought about it, give it some thought today, that our children are going to be adults way, way longer than they'll ever be children, and that the measures and the things that you instill in them now are they're going to benefit for the rest of their lives, and will set them up, especially when the road gets a bit rocky down the track as they get older and go through the different challenges of childhood. So I just encourage you in that. Give it some thought. Google Dr. James Dobson. I promise you, the things this man can teach you through his books and through just listening to him will change your life and change your thinking forever. So another day I will talk about some tips on disciplining in different ways, because it can be quite fun finding ways and consequences for your children to get that, where they get that aha moment. So we'll talk about that another day. Right now, have a brilliant week, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye for now.